Ew. I got to take that way nice and slow. Otherwise, the thing doesn't stay in focus.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes I move too fast for my own good. Hello, Facebook Nation. We are about to get started recording here for Drink Talk, episode 33. Big old 33.
Nice.
So I'm ready to go whenever you're ready to flow, bro.
All right, let's do this.
3, 2, 1.
This is Drink Talk, where we try to solve the world's problems one drink at a time. This week we'll be having beers from Pint Brewing Company and discussing uplifting news. We are your hosts, Brian and Britt.
And that we are. We are your hosts.
That was a nice fade.
Nice and
I
slow.
like that nice slow fade.
I'm taking credit from the last episode that we did, or last two episodes actually. I just kind of took it out and it was like done.
Pretty darn quick there.
But it's all right.
So,
it's no big deal.
Exactly.
So, hey Brian, how
Hello,
was your week, man?
It was pretty good. It was a busy weekend, but otherwise,
yes, a very busy weekend.
All right.
I got to DJ for 20,000 people, or roughly or so.
Nice.
The Race for the Cure was happening.
Oh, okay.
And so we were down at the Baxter Arena, and there was just tons and tons and tons and tons of people showing up, and they allowed me to do that event, which is super nice of them. This is the third time I've actually done that event with them. She, Miss Coben, comes up and she wants me to do it like all the time now. So I was like, "Here's my business card."
Nice.
She's like, she's seen me like the past 3 times, so she knows. She's like, even this year, she was like, "You gonna keep it rolling with the good tunes this year?" I'm like, "Yeah, no problem."
I will.
Should I charge you Wi-Fi because I have to pull off my phone? But it was no big deal. We don't charge them a lot to do that event. Nor should we, because it's all a benefit. We have to make some money, but people are like, "Oh, you must get paid really good to do that." I'm like, "No, I kind of do it out of the kindness of my own heart." Yes, I get paid by my company to be there to run the event, but the DJ is just a bonus. I do sound check and I just leave the music going. You know what I mean? And then the workers are having fun. They're setting up stuff, and I'm playing good music for them. And I will survive. I play good uplifting music that everybody would love. So yeah.
Cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about the beers that we have. Going on this one.
This is all on you, Brian.
Yeah, so I went and
visited
visited
somewhere that I want to go.
I know, and I'd been wanting to go. Since they opened. They only opened about 3.5 months ago. It's called Pint Brewing Company, and they are located in La Vista. Kind of, if those of you that are familiar with the area, it is it's about 108th and Giles. It's on that Portal Road there. Actually located right next to Cross Strain Brewing Company, which is also a newer brewing company here in the local area. But we are here to talk about Pint Brewing Company because they are awesome. Visited them on Saturday, which was right before the game day. And their focus is on aromatics and complex, deep flavored beer. They're kind of rebels in that fact. Like they don't try and create stuff that other people are creating. They try and create their own style out there. So they try and hold their own, which is why they have like 8 beers. I did bring a little menu here, and Britt was looking through that.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah,
but what I was saying is they don't have a whole lot of high octane beers. The highest one is they have is a 7, which we do have is their IPA, but the rest are like 4 and 5%. Which I was explaining to Brian. We not that I do often, but from time to time I was able to get out to friends' houses and stuff. And when you go to a friend's house, you want to have 3-4 beers, something like that. Sometimes 5 beers, but you're drinking, so you're like, I don't want to overdo it or anything like that. So he Andrew's offering me beers that are like 4-5, and I'm like, oh, a weak sauce, but it's got mad flavor. That's the whole point. You can have 3 or 4 or 5 of those, and you're fine because they're kind of weak sauce beers. Yeah. But the flavor is good.
8, 9, 10% beers. You
have 2, and you're like, oh, I'm done.
So the
fun for when you're at home, not having to go anywhere.
Right. So Pint Brewing Company is owned by 2 gentlemen, Jim and Denny, and I did meet Jim when I was there.
Oh, nice.
Also, Tammy is she's the one that actually runs the tap room, and she's Denny's wife. So it's just really the 3 employees there. Yeah. So if you go there, anybody who's
nice job. You got a sticker,
got
Pint 9
sticker
there.
and we got a glass too, and we got some really
nothing
nice
like
beers.
Odell's Brewing Company over there. We need to get more neon signs around here, but we'll work on that.
So I did talk to Jim. He went to the University of California at Davis, got his master's in brewing, and he worked at 2 years at Upstream West, which is now closed, unfortunately. But then he went to Empyrean.
I don't know. What are they going to do with that? Is it going to be office space or
who
what?
Who knows? They own the building, apparently, is what he said.
Oh, wow.
Then he went to Empyrean, which is out of Lincoln, for 3 years, and then he went back to Upstream, but this time he went to the downtown location, and that's where he met Denny. So they're both brewers there at Upstream, and they decided to start this new venture called Pint 9. And the way they got
if you know how to do it,
right,
do
exactly.
it yourself.
Why aren't we doing this? The way they came up with the name Pint 9 is back in the day when we were younger, the craft breweries really weren't a thing, and so you'd had to go to the bottle store and get the bottles from Europe or whatever. Well, they came in half liters or 500 milliliters, which was 16.9 ounces. Now a pint is 16 ounces, so they used to, because it's 16 plus 9, so they used to call it Pint 9, and that's how they and the name stuck, and that's how they got it. So,
interesting.
yeah, it's a really cool place. They've got a nice little bar with some reclaimed wood, and they've got all their taps right there, and you can sit out on the patio or you can sit inside. They actually
that was one thing they did have up on
the patio.
Cross-Train did not have a patio.
No, they have a party room, but they don't have a patio.
Yeah.
And
it's nice to sit outside and have a beer when it's a beautiful day.
Absolutely. And they don't serve food there, but on their menu they actually have like local stuff that delivers there, like Jimmy John's and Pizza West.
Oh,
and
so
all
yeah,
stuff.
so if you're sitting there drinking and you're like, I'm hungry,
just
got delivery here. It's their number.
Exactly.
You pay for it yourself.
So he gave me a tour, which was really cool, and it's a pretty wide open.
Did you posted some pictures?
I did post some pictures on there. If you follow us on Facebook, or now we're on Instagram. Hey, technology,
and hopefully soon Spotify.
Yeah, we're getting there, and iHeartRadio too. It's actually, he's got some really nice setup, but it's a lot of room for expansion there, which is really, really great. And I really enjoyed going there. This first beer that we're actually having, Harvest Number 1, is the name of it. It actually is not out yet. So it's actually it's coming out here pretty soon. Yeah, it'll be out, available. Hopefully, they're thinking October 13th, Friday the 13th. That it'll be available.
Funny how that fell in this month.
Yep. Now, before we drink this, he wanted to let us know that the version that's going to come to market will be more carbonated. This is kind of their test batch.
Gotcha.
But he let us have it just because I like the flavor, and so to that, we're going to cheers on the Harvest Number 1. Very full flavor.
Yeah.
It is really smooth. Like I said, it's
smooth.
It's
not a whole lot of carbonation in there, but I'm okay with it.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
Flavor's good.
It's a 5.9% ABV, 35 IBU, so it's a good range there.
It's almost like a dark wheat.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a really dark wheat, like
or rye. Yeah.
So. Like a burnt wheat almost.
Yeah. And the hops actually that they use in this are from one of their fathers grows it. So it's actually, the hops is from their father. So,
nice.
Yeah. Or one of their fathers. I'm not
How
sure.
hoppy is that?
Hop happy. So yeah, I really dig it. It's really, really good. I'm super happy that they let me take some of this.
So you brought up a story in my mind, how you received this Pint 9.
Which we should say, they came in the crowlers, the 32-ounce can growlers.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
We were at, it was Andrew and I, when we were at...
Andrew's getting a lot of airtime on this one.
He is getting a lot of airtime on this one. But we were at... I'm thinking of the brewery that's right next to Beertopia. Why can't I think of it? Farnham House.
Yeah.
Farnham House.
Yeah.
So we're sitting at Farnham House.
We were supposed to be promoting these guys.
We are promoting these guys, but this brings up a good story in my mind.
Okay.
A happy-go-lucky good story.
All right.
We're sitting at the front counter on the bar, and I noticed that they had this picture of like this vault and a bunch of like fur things happening and like coats and things. And I was like, what? I mean, why do you have this picture of people with fur coats? He goes, that's what this used to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's an old furlough. And down in the basement where we brew our beer is where the safe was to keep all the expensive furs, from people from stealing them, all that stuff. He's like, do you want to go check out the brewery? I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. Anytime you go to these breweries, ask if you can get a tour.
Yeah.
Because it's really cool. And they're really happy to show the stuff off.
So when we go downstairs, they had like 5 refrigerators, and those 5 refrigerators had taps on them. And he's like, would you like to try some beer that we don't have out yet? Yeah.
Another reason
what are you
to
going to say
take the
no to
tour.
that one?
Yeah.
So, yeah, same premise. You got some stuff that no one has gotten yet. And
Right.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, not only this one, but we were walking through, and he's telling me about this coffee beer that he's working on. I'm like, oh, coffee beer. I was like, ever since the Drew Carey show, when they were brewing Buzz beer, I thought that would be such an awesome concept because I love coffee and I love beer.
I have been seeing a lot more mocha like beers coming out,
and I've tried them, and they're not great. So he's like, well, hold on. And we had our sampler glasses when we were walking through the brewery. So mine was empty. So he washed it out, sanitized it, and he like pulled right off of like the giant 15-gallon tank, just pulled off of it. And he's like, here you go. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. Oh, it was amazing. It wasn't carbonated, so it was very, very smooth. It tasted like a
but I think that their coffee one you would want to be more smooth than carbonated.
And it is amazing. It's coming out at the end of the month. It's actually going to be called Oh So Cafe, and it tastes kind of they use hazelnut. There's 2 different varieties. I think a Brazilian and a Jamaican, I believe. I'm sorry if that's wrong, but and it's a hazelnut flavor. It actually tastes like you're drinking kind of coffee with milk and cream, or cream and a little bit of sugar in there, because it's got a little bit of sweetness, but it's the beer. And I know that may not sound amazing, but when you drink it, it is truly amazing. And
it sounds good. I want some.
If you're a coffee fan, this is the beer for you.
Perfect.
But you got to wait till the end of the month for that one.
Yeah.
So
and that reminds me of another story about Adam Grant. He wanted to make, back in high school, right? Like we could do that in high school. He wanted to make a beer ice cream.
A beer ice like an actual ice cream, or like a beer that tastes like
it's an ice cream.
Okay.
And you eat it, and it's beer flavored.
Oh. Well,
but then you get drunk eating ice cream.
That's the thing. Like you can cook with, like we used to make beer bread all the time, and you don't get drunk off of eating the beer bread because it kind of cooks off a lot of the alcohol.
Rum cake.
You could, especially when you cut into it, it's like dripping. Like, all right. Okay. Anyway, so we've got a couple more beers from them, but we're going to do that throughout the show. I do want to move a little on to some of the uplifting news.
Yes. This week we. Unfortunately, when we were recording last Sunday, I think we all know what happened down there in Vegas, and we kind of want to step out of that scenario and out of the bad things that have happened this week.
Right. I do want to touch. Yeah. On that note, there's a lot of negative stories coming out from that, but there's also a lot of stories of heroism and personal sacrifice and people helping people.
Yes.
So I do want to touch on some uplifting stories, but I kind of want to steer clear of that whole atmosphere.
Well, we just want to let's knock them out right now, and then we're done with it.
Well, you've got those stories.
Yeah.
So.
One of the stories, I don't right offhand have the security guard's name, but he was a security guard there at Mandalay Bay, and he was actually working that floor, and he heard the commotion that was going on, and armed with his billy club stick, tried to force himself into this room and stop him with an AK-47 and got shot in the leg. Now, with that said, the gunman had to turn around, stop doing what he was doing, and gun this man down. I can't fathom what was going through his mind saying, I'm going to stop a guy with a gun with a billy club. But that's an act of heroism. That's an act of selflessness.
Well, and that... There's some questions that I have with that one. I mean, I hope that's a true story.
Yeah.
But
the gunman stopped firing on people, so he did save some people, but got shot himself. But he's okay. They put him in.
From what I've heard, and I didn't want to talk about that at all. Like, I didn't want to talk about the whole Vegas thing at all, but I know that there's some good stories.
We'll just bring it up a little bit, spend 5 minutes on it, and we're done.
But, one, I wasn't 100% sure that he actually had an AK-47. But two...
Or you know what I mean. A gun. And then two, I thought he was dead when they entered the room. this guy was trying to get into the room, but he had cameras set up. From what police say, and he tried
Shot him
to
through the door?
Yeah, he shot him through the door.
Okay,
yeah, he did not.
That makes a
enter
little
the
more.
room.
That makes a
Yeah.
little more sense than actually getting into the room, because I was like, I thought he was dead when they got in the room.
But that's a positive story. I mean, a
Yeah.
man trying to help the public
what he can
do what he can. Granted, he got shot, and he's in the hospital, and he's doing okay now. He just got shot in the leg, but
Which,
that's
depending on where you get shot.
that's selflessness. That's I am trying to help with what I got.
Yeah, there's stories. There's a funny story about there's a former Marine, which I know once you're a Marine, you're not really a former Marine. You're always a Marine.
Right.
But
Hoorah.
yeah, exactly, Semper Fi. So he ended up stealing this guy's truck and like helping people get to the emergency room at the hospital and all that. And the guy that owned the truck like texted the guy like, good job on doing that. At this point I don't really care that you stole the truck because you were doing that. But yeah, I just thought that was a kind of a funny story where you just steal a vehicle to
I did
help
hear
people
about
out.
that.
Yeah. So anyway, moving on. I wanted to because
Done with that.
we've been hearing a lot about Las Vegas, so we wanted to step away from that a little bit and move more towards other uplifting news that are kind of oh dear.
Sorry, no
it was
worries.
just water, right?
It's just water.
So, Britt, you said your little piece on that one, so I'm going to step into this. This my first story here is about it's from SingularityHub.com, and I found this village that this new test village that they're doing, and it's they call it the Tesla of Eco Villages, and they're building self-reliant villages for the coming masses, the coming billions that are going to be populating the planet. James Ehrlich is the founder, and there's a video. If you go to Singularity Hub and you look this up, there is a video of it, and it's called RenGen Villages, REGEN, all one word, villages. And
RenGen.
RenGen, and it's in conjunction with Stanford University, and the first concepts are actually going out to the Netherlands, and what it really is. And I hesitate using the word commune because there's such a negative connotation with the word commune. But it's really like a group of people getting together, using farming practices, recycling habits. The houses that they're creating are not just power consumption neutral. They are power consumption positive, which means they actually generate energy, so they could actually power the next door neighbor's house with their house. So it's like some cool stuff.
Bonus.
That we're starting. I actually had this gal that I used to work with, and in her neighborhood, they actually bought this huge plot of land for something very, very similar. And it was a bunch of people that would get together, and they would. They were all home, like all the children are homeschooled and all that. And it gets a little commune-y, but they did the farming practices. They were hugely aware of how they were building these houses and making them as energy net zero as possible, and just it was just a neat concept. And if you go back to our alternative energy episodes, that's something that we're gonna have to look at. And from an aspect, we can all identify with like the shopping aspect. I mean, we're seeing all these things pop up here in Omaha. We've got places like Village Point where you got shopping, you've got movies, you've got food, you've got groceries, you've got
all an inclusive resort essentially.
All in one area.
Yeah.
Why can't we do that with neighborhoods? Where the neighborhood is, you've got they're all self-reliant, self-sustaining. They've got the food. You can grow food there. They've got some miniature livestock.
Back when I used to live at the Penny Village Apartments, that was one of my most favorite things about that apartment was that I could walk to the grocery store.
Yeah.
It was so like. I never drove a car over there. Never had to. I needed groceries every day. I'll just walk over there every day.
Well, and there was
whatever.
other things there
No
too.
big
You
deal.
had like Big Red Kino, and you had
other
things,
little
eateries
restaurants and little bar over there and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nice to be within walking distance and not have to get in your car to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I live fairly close to a Hy-Vee. I'm there in 2 minutes and I'm back in 2 minutes. So
if you really wanted to, you could walk down there. It's half a mile away.
Yeah, in 6 minutes I could be round trip done. But it's something to say when it's close.
Yeah,
when it's
absolutely.
all.
Well, that's all. I wanted to do these briefly, so I want to just spend a few minutes on each one of these.
Well, so with the same thing about the whole energy reliant system, Elon Musk is actually his company is trying to solve Puerto Rico's energy crisis.
Yeah, I had that one on my list. So
they had the big hurricane Maria.
I don't remember which one actually hit.
Maria.
It was just terrible because
Yeah.
there were so many at the same time. Like there was just one right after the other.
But I think it's great that his company's reaching out and saying, "No, I'm here to help."
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that he's going to have to set up some kind of payment system, but I'm sure
he's
that
donating these.
well, that's even better. I didn't really read into the article, but I just saw the article.
So I read into it, and I know a lot about the Powerwalls that he's sending down there too. So, what he's doing, he's sending what's known as these Powerwall systems. And the Powerwall, if what it looks like, they've got ones for home use, and they've got the ones for like business use that are like on racks. And if you picture something, if those of you that are like old school Mac fans, when they first came out with the mouse, it was all sleek and slender and all that, and it kind of looks like one of those on the wall. And it produces, I believe, 5 to 8 megawatts of energy, which is a lot of energy. And I actually looked at this at one of the buildings that we have for our business, and I wanted to use that because it recharges using solar energy. And our business, that location, uses between 2 and 3 megawatts per month of energy. So this Powerwall could power the whole business, that whole building.
Interesting.
And you could stay off the grid.
Put it on the building, and you're fine.
And that was just the home unit. I wasn't even going to the business unit. The business units are like the rack servers, and they're infinitely scalable. And I think each one of those is 100 megawatts, which is a ton of energy. But if you have a large business, a huge building, I mean, and they're infinitely scalable, so you can daisy chain them together and all that. But
it's a great idea,
right? So I don't know which version he's sending down there. If it's the rack servers or the power walls for home use, probably the home use, because they're smaller, more portable, and you can put them kind of anywhere. But he's also putting the solar panels with them, and he's sending down hundreds of them quietly. Just because not much is being done with Puerto Rico, even though they are American citizens. Puerto Rico is part of the United States. It's not a state, but it is part of the United States. And he has also personally donated $250,000 of his own money on top of his company sending all these things down there. And these are all made by Tesla.
That's positivity in its best.
Oh, absolutely. It's so cool. And just from the technical standpoint, the power of these things is really, really cool. And I've personally looked into them for business use. They're super cool, and he's sending them down there. And now, at first, because he's only sending down a few hundred, and if you're thinking about the whole country of Puerto Rico, he's only sending down hundreds, is what they said. They didn't give an exact number, but
it's better than nothing.
Well, it's for cleanup. They want to power the cleanup and relief efforts first. And then he's actually talking to the mayor of Puerto Rico about redoing the power infrastructure.
Well, yeah, they've been having problems with it. So
yeah, well, it's down. It's completely down. But if you can have these
but before the hurricane, they've had problems with it.
Oh,
that's why they're trying to solve it.
Absolutely. But yeah, they that's a really cool story. That's one that I saw and I was like, that's super cool. So.
Another.
Well, you had that one.
Oh
so
yeah, that's right. Well,
I did talk about it.
Yeah, you had a lot more information. About it.
But let me.
Saw it.
I know.
That was the thing.
Let me throw one out there. And this actually throws back to a couple episodes ago for us, the plastics pollution episode. So Chinese scientists, and this is from WEDORUM, and Chinese scientists have found a fungus that can break down plastics. Now, if you remember the episode that I had talked about, plastics don't break down, they break up, which means they get smaller and smaller and smaller, but they don't really go away.
What you're telling me is this fungus eats it, essentially.
They produce, or this fungus
consumes it.
It doesn't consume it. It produces an enzyme that breaks down the molecular structure of the plastic.
Gotcha.
So it actually breaks it down. Which is really cool. It's called the, and I'm probably going to butcher it here because it's a Latin name, and I don't know Latin, but Aspergillus tuberculosis.
Right. Spell that 3 times fast.
I know, right? Yeah, that's the name of the fungus that's actually doing this. They found it in a dump in Pakistan, in Islamabad, Pakistan, and The thing with it though is it's a little bit finicky. So it's really affected by like the pH balance of its surroundings, and it's also the type of plastic that it's on, which kind of makes sense. I mean, if you're on like a
there's thin grade and thick grade plastic,
cellophane or milk jug, or PVC piping. Obviously it's going to take longer to break down the PVC piping than it is Saran wrap. So it's not perfect, but it's hopeful. So before
they're going in the right direction,
right? There was nothing that we knew of that would actually do that. So we're going from there's nothing that can break down plastic, it's just going to be around forever, to well, we kind of found something that's breaking it down now. Nature apparently finds a way.
Yeah.
So hey,
bada bang, bada boom.
Good on that one. You're next, Britt. What you got?
So there is there's a church in Denver, St. Andrew's Episcopal Church, is pushing for a second edition to their tiny house village. So
tiny houses kind of blew up, but you don't hear about them a whole lot right now.
So they've already done this once. They built all these little tiny houses for their homeless. And now the homeless can come in.
Is it a whole neighborhood around the church there?
Whole neighborhood. I don't know if it's around the church, but
where are they housing? I mean, even though they're tiny houses, they
bought
need space.
they bought a big lot.
Like a parking lot, or like a just empty
something
space,
way bigger than that.
Like turned it into like an RV lot kind of thing.
Maybe 4 of my lots, but on 4 of my lots that I sit on, you could put 80 of these houses, 60 of these houses, whatever. But they're looking to make a second installment and do a second run of this because it went over so well.
I wonder if it kind of looks like the. Have you been to KOA before? And they have the places where you can park your RV.
It looks like a bunch of It looks like a bunch of hen houses.
Yeah, well, they're tiny houses, but you've also got the little cabinets at the KOA.
When I'm speaking of hen houses, I'm thinking of Chicken Run. Small hen houses. Not the big ones that you would normally see on the countryside. No, I think this is great. You give the homeless person a place to stay. They actually have an address. They can receive mail. They can go get a job. One step in the right direction of you get people to go, they're homeless, they got to sign you, go get a job. Well, if he doesn't have an address and he smells like BO, he doesn't have a place to put up his feet in the in the cold of winter. You just really can't get a job. It's like, really,
When I saw
after giving him that job, he could potentially go do and get that stuff. But if a church is reaching out and they can provide housing for them, minimal cost, because these small houses aren't that much and I'm sure it's some kind of fundraiser that they do through the community.
If you grab, because
it's win-win all over. I'm sure they can apply for some kind of loan from the government to fund building houses for homeless people.
And
I would assume.
Our cousin Michael is an architect, and actually his brother asked him to build a tiny house. So that's what you could take students that are in architecture class and say, hey, could you design some small houses for us?
Yeah.
Or build them, like Habitat for Humanity. They build homes.
Those homes are huge. They're
no,
bigger.
I wouldn't say huge, but they're good size.
They're bigger than this house.
Well, are they really?
Yeah, I've seen one. I helped build one. I'm like, this is a nice place. Can I move in?
Right. So, building the tiny homes, you could crank those out. Build one in I wouldn't say a day, but it's possible depending on the amount of people that you have. But you don't want to throw.
Let's just say
too quickly.
Let's say 2 days.
Yeah, but I would be. I'd be interested to see that on how they make that work and. On who's designing.
Well, and I'm sure that maybe if the funding's not there, they tell this homeless person, you got to sign this contract. And once you start making money, we'll charge you $50 a month to stay here. And then when you want to move out, then we work through that. Yeah. I'm stipulation there. I don't know what, but I would assume that there would be some kind of agreement where you don't have to pay us right away, but if you're gonna continue to stay here, we need payment because frankly, we could be getting this out to somebody else.
You want them to have some ownership in that,
right? You go, here's a house, go get a job. There's ownership. There's there are so many homeless people out there that are wanting to work because they know that work equals money, and they don't have money, and panhandling. I can't imagine, now some panhandling places may be better, like a New York subway compared to an Omaha street corner, might be
We're
a little,
seeing that a lot here.
might be a lot different. Yeah.
How are you doing on yours?
Well, you won. So you get the finishing touches.
Nice.
But I just think it's great that St. Andrew's Episcopal Church there in Denver is doing this.
Well,
great,
that's
great
actually,
awesome thing.
That's actually where our cousin got his degree in architecture, was at the University of Denver. So nice.
Boom.
Yes, get on in. All right, my turn.
It is.
All right, so from mine comes from this one. This article comes from Time Magazine or Time.com. I have a little bit of a personal connection to this, but the title of the article is breast cancer deaths drop nearly 40% in the United States from 1989 to 2015.
Funny you say that, since I had Race for the Cure today.
I know, right? Well, and actually, I have a friend from church, Ashley Brame, and I did want to give her a little bit of a shout out because she actually has a blog out there called Baby on the Brame, BREHM, and you can find it on Facebook. I would highly recommend you do that. Anybody that has any ties to cancer, go ahead and do that, because she documented her whole transition from when she found out to when she was going through treatment, to family issues while going through treatment, to after effects, to when she was done, when she became, they don't say cancer free anymore, they just say in remission. So she's documented that whole experience, and she's got like 7,500 followers on her blog.
That's great.
I mean, it's crazy cool. So, and she's such
hello,
a
Facebook Nation. Where's our 7,500?
Yeah, no, we're working
on
on
about
it.
400.
Right, yeah. So, yeah, no, I actually, I saw her at church this morning, and I was asking her about that. I said, hey, I found this article. We're wanting to do uplifting news, and I heard that the cancer deaths from breast cancer has declined 40%. And she said, yeah, that's a thing. And she said, now there's some things that go into that that they don't talk about.
You check yourself out. Go get it checked out. That's step number one.
Right. Also, like early detection. She's saying early detection is a big thing now, and it's becoming more and more. People are becoming more and more aware of that.
The more you know.
Right. Shooting star. Yes. But what she also said is that there are actually more people getting breast cancer now. So the survival rate is actually going. There's more people getting it, but
ladies and gentlemen, please stay away from Burger King or McDonald's. They are giving you cancer in a bag. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I like myself some Burger King every once in a while.
Yeah. So early detection.
McDonald's though, I stay away from that place.
Oh yeah.
They got good fries though.
Back to this. All right. So early detection and improved treatments are causes of or some of the reasons that the decline in deaths has been. Also the the way medical I guess that falls into the improved treatments and all that. But yeah, she had a lot to say, but I wish she was coming on to this. I was hoping that she could come on this program at some point, but
we'd love to.
She's actually starting her own, so she had a lot of questions for me this morning.
So you were in the military with this name, Brian Run
again. Hey,
yeah. He was commenting on here. He said, "Next time I'm in town, I will swing by for some drink talk."
Excellent. Yes, please do.
He said, "I served with Brian, drank some beers in Europe.
One or two.
Good to see things are going well for you too." So
well, okay, Britt.
That's kind words that he was saying there.
Do you remember that picture that I showed you of Dr. Evil and Mini-Me?
And yes.
He was Dr. Evil.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, there were two. So we had I was in the Navy, and there were these two guys in my shop, and they were both bald, and we took this picture because one Runnigan is like 6'2", 6'3", and this other guy was like barely 5.5 feet, and we stood them next to each other, and we said, Dr. Evil and Mini-Me. So
That's great.
It was just really cute. It was a cute picture. So. Those are the fun things that we get to do in the military.
Oh,
so,
speaking of nice costumes, I finally bought my son's costume for this year. He wanted to be a dinosaur. The best I could
T-Rex?
Yeah, the best I could do was this T-Rex outfit that he wears, and it's like he's riding T-Rex. I was like, that's good enough. You're not T-Rex, but you're riding T-Rex. He's like, Daddy, I love it. So,
nice.
I found his costume yesterday.
Nice.
when we went shopping.
Well, we're gonna take a break because we're a little bit of a break. You brought out the next beer, Britt. Why don't you? What'd you bring out here?
You tell me. I mean, you're the one that brought him. So.
Oh, the Orange Blossom Rye.
Yeah,
okay.
I figured saving the
right.
IPA till last. So.
Perfect. We're gonna end on a big note on that one.
Yeah.
So Orange Blossom Rye. This is a seasonal from them, and it is a rye beer, which has a little bit more depth of flavor. Which again, they are into depth, complex flavors. That's kind of their thing, which I really enjoy.
Now, with that said, I am not a huge rye fan, but. We'll see. Maybe they will change my my ways.
I am a rye fan, so you give me
now rye whiskey on the other
that
hand.
is a very rye whiskey, rye beers. I'm a big fan. Sierra Nevada actually had, and I wish I could remember the name of it. It was in a silver can, and Ruthless rye. I think maybe. What happened?
You're fine. You're right. It's just a little dribble.
But it was. It was an amazing beer that they had, and they just kind of did away with it, unfortunately. Anyway,
some
well,
cherry blossom.
Yeah,
that's why we got the carpet spray.
Excellent.
There's plastic underneath these carpets, so it will never go through.
It's kind of a sweet. You taste the orange in there. It's a little citrusy in there. This is.
I'm going to retract the statement I just made that I don't like rye, because this rye is nice. It's a lot smoother than I thought it was going to be.
For a rye beer, it's really light. Now, a lot of rye beers that I've had are really heavy, deep flavor. This is, it's hazy, but it's I don't know.
I'm definitely tasting the blossom. I can definitely taste the floweriness.
They also say it's light and it's got honey flavors in it. So
honey.
which you kind of, it is sweeter. It is sweeter.
There's so many good things to talk about honey about. So if you ever add honey to your beer, I'm going to buy you.
Okay, and I want you to start smelling the beers, because like they're big on.
That's the first thing I always do is smell the beer.
Yeah, it's like they work on the aroma, and you can smell the when you're drinking beer, you do want to take that smell, and that's part of the whole drinking
thing.
Yeah, part of the whole thing. Very good beer. I like
that's awesomely awesome beer.
Why I chose it. So.
Right. Is it my turn?
Your turn. I just talked about the Time Magazine article there.
So I found this article very interesting. I didn't read too much into it, but the article pretty much states. So this barber, he lied down on the floor and he cut this 6-year-old boy's hair with autism. He's out of Quebec, Canada, and his name is Franz Jacob. I just think,
I did see that.
He's a barber. He could be like, I don't know what's up with your kid. Like, he's laying on the floor. So apparently he doesn't need his haircut today. So if he's not going to get in the chair, I'm going to move on to my next patient. No, the guy took time out of his day and he laid with him to comfort a boy with autism and cut his hair on the floor.
Well, that's
awesome.
If you don't understand,
that's good people.
People that have no connection to people with autism may not understand this whole process.
Got to make them feel comfortable.
So yeah, people with autism, they get really agitated with new surroundings or things that are not out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
They don't like looking people in the eye. So I don't have any direct ties to autism, but
neither do I.
I know I have a friend of mine that actually has a twin brother that has autism, and so I know a little bit about it. But I don't have any direct firsthand knowledge of it. So other than meeting him,
what stuck out to me was, I've been going to the barber since I was 3 years old. The same barber that I've been going to since I was 3 years old. Ron
the Viking.
Yeah, we're gonna big shout out to Ron. He's been cutting my hair since I was 3 years old, and now my son is getting his hair cut there. I have no idea what I'm going to do when he retires, because
he's like 71. He's got to be getting close.
But he's healthy,
but he also works like 12-hour days,
and he's a cash only bar.
Barber.
And so, you win on that one. So, I just, I've gone to other places, and I'm like, I want a straight fade up this high, and it never looks as good. Mm-hmm. He's a messy bartender. Yeah, he breaks up the vacuum.
You keep saying bartender.
Barber. It's because I was at the bar last night. You definitely have to go home, take a shower after he's done cutting your hair, because he's a military man and he militarily cuts your hair, but it's meticulously perfected and awesome. So
one of the things when I was in the military that I miss heavily, when they cut your hair,
I guess I could pay a little bit more and he'd probably wash my hair. Then
he has the sink for it.
He's got the sink for it. Yeah. So I bet you for an extra, $5, whatever, he'd probably wash my hair. But so maybe I'll ask him about that.
When I was in the military, they actually had the razors that they would cut our hair with were connected to hoses that actually had a vacuum on there. So as
you're cutting, it's just sucking it
right in there. So that's a huge expense and so much more like. It changes the way you hold the clippers.
Well, yeah, because you got this thing underneath
the tube, but oh my god, it was so
clean,
awesome. Yes, you could go like you might have a couple stray little hairs there, but really,
done.
Yeah, done. You could go from
don't even need a cloth on you. Done.
Yeah. It was so awesome. I do. That was one thing that I really, really miss about being in the military was. Those
military haircuts?
The military haircuts, yeah. But now the place that I go to now actually washes it off. So.
You can pimp them out.
Oh, scissors and scotch.
Yeah, which that is kind of a leg up. I'm getting an awesome haircut. You're still getting an awesome haircut, but you're also getting a drink with it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So you get. So yeah. These people, they've been around for almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years in March, but they've actually they told the.
This is positivity. You go get a haircut and you get a drink. That's positivity.
Which it's funny. Every person that I've told to that has no idea what scissors and scotch is, they're like the people drink scotch when they're cutting your hair. I'm like, no,
wrong.
No,
other way around.
You get a drink afterwards. But anyway, they haven't even been around for 2 years. But they are going national. They're franchising now.
Well, that's great.
So good
for them.
They started here in Omaha.
Good news.
Yeah, good news. They started here in Omaha. They have, I believe, 5 locations now, and now they're looking into franchising and going national. It's crazy. Like to see that in a 2 year time, not even a 2 year time span.
And you've helped them grow, Ryan.
Oh well,
helped them grow.
I was one of the original members there. So yeah,
you tried, but it's too far for me. It's out there. It's on the other side of the planet for me.
Yes,
maybe not that far. Maybe
Omaha's so big, right?
It's a solid 25-minute drive for me to go do that. Whereas Ron is about 10 minutes down the street. Yeah,
I know. So. And I don't want to say because I went to Ron since I was in 5th grade.
But now he's on the other side of the world from you. Because you're on the other side of Omaha. So I get it. Fully. So
plus, it's a good atmosphere for. Getting to know people and just it's like a
because you can hang out before your bar before you get your haircut.
It's like a live version of LinkedIn. Like you get connected to other
it's like a bar that you go get your haircut in.
But other professionals go there, so at the bar you're just sitting there and you may talk to people and get to know other professionals and so that's a really cool place. I enjoy it.
So that was the shout out to the bartending, Barber world. Bartending. I was just going to say that.
Yes.
Anyway,
is it my turn?
It is your turn.
All right. So the next one
Hold on. Now it's your turn.
All right. I'm on deck. All right. So this comes from abcnews.com and also WSBTV.com out of Atlanta, Georgia. There was, and this touches back on the cancer part of it, a childhood cancer survivor returns to Atlanta Hospital as a nurse more than 20 years later.
I had that one as
Did
well.
You?
Yeah, that's a great story.
Yeah, so Montana Brown, she is now 24. Mm-hmm. She started working at the Aflac Cancer Center in Atlanta, Georgia.
Aflac.
So
that darn duck.
I know. So at 2 years old, she was diagnosed, and this is, again, give me a second here, because this is a... rhabdomyosarcoma. So I'm going to break that apart. So I know.
I'm already confused just hearing you say it.
The sarcoma, that is the cancer part of it. The sarcoma is the cancer part of it. Myo means muscle, and the rhabdo, and it's been a little while since I broke stuff down. I don't remember what that is. But what it means is the cancer of the connective tissue.
Mm-hmm.
So she was diagnosed when she was 2, and then went through treatment. And then she got into high school, joined cheerleading, and something else, I can't remember what. Then at 15, she was re-diagnosed again with it.
Bummer.
So she went through that again. And she, because of the care and the love that she got from the hospital there, she decided to go into nursing. And then an opportunity came to work at the exact same cancer center that she was in when she was a child. And now she's back more than 20 years later.
You know, it reminds me of the story that I tried to do for my child. So I really wanted to find a house in the Ponca Hills School District.
Yeah, that's where he
and
grew up.
send my son to school at the same school that I went to.
Ponca Raccoons.
The Raccoons. And it just didn't work out that way. And now my son's going to school at the zoo, which is even cooler.
He gets to see raccoons.
Right? It's like, what?
You know
what
what I
did
like
you
to
go?
call, you know what I like to call them?
What's that?
Trash pandas. Just saying. It's a fun alternative name for
It is a
them.
fun alternative name. But they have trained birds there.
Like parakeets or
No, like there's an auditorium on the lower side where you'd normally enter for the petting zoo. They have trained birds that they're like, and they take off and they fly around the desert dome and then they come back and you're like, what? That's an African swallow. Like, how did you do that?
That's now
This
okay.
zoo is so cool.
It's in the. You just said it's in the dome.
No,
Where
it's
they're
not
gonna-
in the dome.
You just said it was in the dome.
No. You go down the lower entrance.
Oh, where the bats are, or like the Kingdom of the Night.
Hear me out.
Okay,
You go to not the main entrance.
Those of you that have not been to our zoo here in Omaha,
It's the best zoo in the world.
literally.
Literally. So there's the main entrance, but there was the secondary entrance where you would go down to the petting zoo and all that stuff.
Now you're going into the dome. Okay.
Two entrances.
Okay.
Entrance to the zoo.
For some reason, I thought you said dome.
I did.
Okay, all right.
I did. So the new entrance down below
Okay.
caters to more kid-friendly stuff.
Okay.
And they have the big complex for the kids to play, run and muck in and play on swings and stuff.
Run amok,
But,
huh?
run amok. But they also have a, like an auditorium, outside auditorium.
Yeah.
And they have animals to show off there. So you can come and you can sit in the auditorium. They do like a 10, a 2, a 1 and 5, whatever program for whatever. But we were sitting outside one time and we were walking up and I just kind of happened to glance in there, just like the beards, and they're like, and then the birds take off and I'm like, your birds are getting away, and they just do a loop around the desert dome and then they come back. I'm like,
Were they the
they were big birds,
so like raptors, like hawks, or
they were some African something, but like I wouldn't want
condor?
I wouldn't want them in the general population of our birds. Let's just say
Because
that
they were gigantic.
they were big. They were big birds, but just to watch them in flight, and then they were just like, I know where the food's at. I'm gonna come back because I know where I'm fed. Boom. And it's like, you're just letting these birds just hang out and fly around like
With
that.
all these kids around here.
With all these kids around, like they pick one up, But it's cool. The zoo's super cool. My kid goes to the only preschool I know that has its own train to get around. Right?
And he loves trains.
And he loves trains.
Yep.
So, yeah, there's a bonus on that. So, I don't know. I went really far off topic on that one.
That's quite all right. Quite all right. You got the next one.
It's all about old school stuff, and you were talking about the cancer survivor going back to the school, and I was talking about trying to get my son to go to my school that I used to go to.
And I kind of wonder how that, you hear about stories like that where
she's paying it forward is what she's doing.
right, but you hear about, and I'm going to go even deeper into that, like as a child something happens to you and it alters your course in life. Where she was a cancer patient and she thought that the nurses that attended to her were awesome.
That hospital became her home.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And she's like, this is what I want to do because this place, if you think about it in her terms,
Sad story,
yeah,
but
she's got
positive story because
cancer, she's got cancer as a kid, but she loved going there so much that she wanted to become a nurse.
Yeah,
And
no, that's awesome.
That's a really cool story.
Awesome.
Really cool story. So you got the next one.
All right, so We just had a Burning Man concert.
Burning. Yeah.
And there's
how many bikes?
5,000 bikes
Yep.
sitting around, and they're going to donate all these bikes to hurricane ravaged towns.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome because, the hurricane comes in with its gale force winds and oceanic mudslides and all that sort of jazz. Everything gets taken out. Everything gets wiping out. Everything is no longer good. Even if you had a bike sitting to a post that was chained, now it's a rust-filled bike. It's just you don't want water going into places where it doesn't need to be. And so for this Burning Man thing that just happened,
which is supposed to be
they have 5,000 bikes sitting around. I'm like, where did you get the 5,000 bikes to begin with?
Which I think it's supposed to be. I think Burning Man is actually supposed to be like a net zero kind of thing, like leave nothing behind. Like they try and not even leave trash and all that. There's 5,000 bikes. That's why I laughed earlier, because it's one of those things. Like it's set up to be this. We come, we have a fun time, we have this whole concert, and then and other things. Looking at Burning Man,
wink, wink.
Pretty crazy. But it's supposed to be like
never been. Kind of would want to go.
Yeah, but it's like we were never there. Like we want to leave the space that we went to.
Well, hence why the 5,000 bikes are getting donated. So like everything that was there is now going to get reused.
It's like the modern day Woodstock, really.
Yeah, only way bigger.
Probably bigger.
Way bigger.
Yeah, I've never attended Woodstock, so I don't know how big it was. I know it was a big thing, but I don't know if
I would say it was in the thousands, the tens of thousands, maybe the hundreds of thousands.
I don't know.
Whereas Burning Man's like getting close to like 500,000, like
that's
a ridiculous amount of people.
Where do you hold this? I mean, that's pretty crazy.
A desert.
I know. Yes, but I mean, still, that's a large parcel of land that you. And I heard that there's area you go.
How large was Burning Man? I'd say 10 miles by 10 miles.
That would hold 500,000 people
easily. Easily 10 miles by 10 miles.
If you're thinking about everybody's in tents, I mean that's and I've heard they do villages. Like if you go to this one village, this one has the food, and you can go get the food, and it's all like a commune kind of thing. Like if I have medical needs,
I can't imagine what it would cost just to go to Burning Man.
But you're sleeping in a tent, so I mean, there's probably the tickets.
There's a cost of going.
There is. I
know there's a cost of going, but the experience is well worth the cost. I would assume.
Yeah, and I'd heard.
I would assume. So this is all assumptions here, guys.
There's another podcast that I listened to, Surreal Talk, and they actually just did a podcast called "The Day the Music Died," or did it? And it was all on the whole.
Music's not dead yet.
Do you remember the song?
Yes.
Okay, that was all on like the Big Bopper and Buddy Holly and.
I know. The day.
The music died. Yep. Died. So
no copyright there.
Because we sang it.
Exactly.
And
it's an original.
Terrible. But one of the things they talked about, and I want to say it was Dr. Dre that got into it, that helped start Burning Man. Like he was filming a movie
Makes me think of my next story here.
So he was filming. I think he was filming not a movie. He was filming a music video with Tupac, I believe. And they went out to the desert, and he's like, "There's all these naked people running around." And he's like, "We can capitalize on this and make money on this." And so he got into Burning. He was the one that helped start Burning Man. I don't know if any of that's true, but that's just kind of what they were proposing. Their tagline is "Cults, Conspiracies, and the Paranormal." So, and they're two brothers that actually have a podcast.
That's great.
We can totally relate.
There you go. You bringing up singing a song makes me want to go on to my next story, even though I know that I've already done one already. I'm going to do number two.
Go ahead.
Hottest new trending video right now. Man at airport sings "No Diggity." Check it out.
I haven't seen that one.
So this guy, you really don't know what's going on, but in the back of my head, I'm thinking that he's trying to get somewhere. The airport's packed, and the girls help him out. No diggity, no doubt,
Right.
And I don't know whether he reaches over and grabs the little microphone and he just starts serenading the lady at the front counter, or he, was just trying to give some positive energy vibes to the crowd around him. But he lays it out and sings "No Diggity, No Doubt."
Nice.
Word for word. And it's actually an epically awesome video, and it's trending right now. You can find it. Just type in "man at airport sings no diggity," and it'll come up.
There's another. So that reminds me of another video in the airport, and this is in Asia. I don't remember if it was in China or Japan or whatever, but
Asia, perfect.
In Asia. And Cyndi Lauper was in the airport, and for some reason there was this huge backup, and no one was allowed to leave, and so they're there for literally hours.
So she performed a concert.
People were getting agitated. Not really a concert.
Well, you know what I mean. A concert for them,
right? So they let her have the microphone for the
speakers.
Yeah,
that's what the guy had,
and totally saying girls just want to have fun.
Yeah,
and like everybody in the airport was like singing along with her.
I may have played that today. I mean, it's breast cancer awareness. You got to have girls that have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
It was fun to.
Speaking of, I didn't mention that on the whole breast cancer. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
It is. We are just changed the light bulbs out at the Hive to pink, and we are all pink all the time.
Yeah, I didn't.
For the month of October.
And I'm sorry I didn't mention that. Ashley, you can get on me later about that.
She's actually saying something right now. No, I'm just kidding. Pretty hard time.
Dang it. Yeah. So it was.
It's on you. It's on you, bud. I gave the last two.
All right, so it's on me. So this next one actually comes from abc.net.au. Now, it's not the ABC that we know here in America, because this actually stands for the Australian Broadcasting Corporation.
Oh, good day.
Good day, mate. So, the Great Barrier Reef. Did you get one of those little black bugs?
I got one of those
things. Oh my gosh.
All right.
We're gonna take
before you start your story, I was cleaning out my gutters today on my roof, and they were backed up. There was one that was backed up. I'm like, it's standing in my living room. I'm like, it's pouring over the side. I'm like, I need to go unclog that gutter. And finally, yesterday it cleared up, but today it was fine and beautiful outside. I was like, I got to get up. I got to put a ladder on the roof, and I got to go clean out this gutter. I get up there, all of them. I have 4 downspouts, all 4 clogged, all of them. I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm working my way around.
Was your wife washing her hair on the roof?
Nope.
Is that why they were
wife and kid were sleeping. It was nap time for them.
Never mind. You didn't. Never mind.
It's been raining for the past 3 days here.
I know.
Anyway, barehanded into the bucket. Just grab it, dump it in the bucket. I get around to where my satellite dish is at for DirecTV, and I'm like, it's kind of really hard to work over here. It's kind of prickly over here. So I am covered in bugs. Literally 40 little of these little tiny gnat things.
Mm-hmm.
Like just the tiniest little thing you ever seen.
You guys were calling them.
It's dead.
You guys were calling them no-see-ums and all that, but I don't think.
No,
that's what
I
they
never
are.
call them a no-see-um.
That when I went to Mom and Dad's for dinner.
Maybe Mom was calling them that, but I wasn't calling them that. Anyway,
they're like gnats.
I was getting bit up.
Yeah.
I was getting bit up hardcore. Yeah. I found their nest. They were building it up in the gutters.
Yep.
But I got my gutters cleaned out, and so hey.
All done.
Good and flowing now.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on with these little. We were over to some friends of ours for a birthday party for their daughter. And
little tiny bugs.
We're just sitting outside.
They're not biting. They're like pricking you to figure out whether you're edible or not, or I don't know.
But you feel it, and you're like, "What's going on with this?"
Yes, it's not bad. It's not like, oh my gosh,
it's not
hurts.
like wasp.
Yeah, it's not like, oh wow. It's just like
you just feel it.
It's just like it's kind of like
if somebody were to pull a hair out of your
like
arm.
A cactus. You touch a cactus and you're like, oh, that's pokey. It's pokey. You're like, oh, what is that? And then I looked around, and literally I had like 10 on this arm, 10 on this arm. I had like 8 on my leg. I'm
you had like welts.
Oh, I had them. Oh, yeah. They're starting to go away now, but I was just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Jeez, what was this all about? Didn't know I was getting myself into that.
Anyway, I don't know if that's here in just the heartland, but
let's get back to your story
nationally. But we're gonna go across the larger pond, the Pacific, and go all the way to Australia. Good day, mate.
I got a great one for after
where
that.
Where the world is upside down there.
Is it?
Yeah, no.
And everybody rides around in kangaroo pouches? No, that's not true.
Everything is out to kill you.
Fake news.
Yes, that's not a knife. This is a knife.
Yes, awesome.
So, the Great Barrier Reef. Anybody that's been paying attention to the news,
I get the
extras. You get that. Well, I was slowing down.
That's all right. It's no big deal.
So the Great Barrier Reef. Anybody that's really been paying attention to the Great Barrier Reef in the last couple of years has noticed or has heard articles
of bleaching. Yes.
the bleaching of the coral reefs.
Well, it's going away.
Yeah. So after the
Dying.
bleaching comes the dying of it. So what happens is bleaching is actually where coral loses its pigments, and there's like two different methods on how it loses the pigment. But after it loses the pigment, then it dies. And so the bleaching was a big thing.
Well, yeah, because I mean, if you lose your pigment, nobody wants to be there. Like,
yeah, well,
you're not green or whatever, purple, whatever color you are.
Yeah,
I don't really. You're not a plant anymore.
It was like the first stage of death, basically, for the coral. So scientists,
Britt, you might want to get some sun.
get that checked out. Stop putting on the
third nipple
sunblock. Yeah. So the scientists from the Australian Institute of Marine Science found in 14 different corals around the Great Barrier Reef that had previously been bleached that are now coming back.
That's great. That's good news.
I know. That's super cool. So as of 2016, 2017, 2/3 of the Great Barrier Reef have been affected by bleaching, and half had been killed off.
So to the people that are on this world that don't know about bleaching, what is bleaching? I don't know.
If you look at coral, if you look at pictures of coral, it's multicolored. It's reds and yellows and greens and browns and all that. So you see multiple different colors in coral. And when it loses its pigmentation, and I think people know what pigmentation is, when it loses the pigmentation, it turns this white, which is why they call it bleaching. So that is kind of the first stage. Like, it goes into more of a dormant stage from there, and then it dies after that. So what they're finding is, even after some of this has died, now this isn't in all things. This is, like I said, like 50%, 2/3, so 66% of the Great Barrier Reef had been affected by bleaching, but only half had died. And after that, they're starting to find things that come back around, and they're finding that the reason for the dormant stage is they're losing all the energy, they're losing the pigment and all that. But when coral comes back, that means that the energy supply that coral has, they're using that for reproduction and egg production and all that. So that's a good sign that they're starting to come back. So it's not everywhere. But they are finding it in 14 different coral reefs that have previously been bleached. So it's a good sign. Not great because it's in its infancy. They're starting to come back.
But it's better than not coming back.
Exactly.
So I'm glad to hear that they are coming back.
Because when I started hearing about that back in 2016, I was like, oh crap, this is not good. So again, this is another example of nature finds a way. So.
I just thought of something awesomely positive.
Awesomely positive. Well, it's your go. So
installing a speaker in the bathroom, so when we go to the bathroom,
we
can still what's going on. No, I knew exactly what you were talking about because I kind of left you on a hot topic. I'm like, talk about that and
let it roll.
But
and me with
but
my,
having a speaker in the bathroom, that'd be actually kind of cool. You just walk in and you're like, oh yeah, no, I agree with that.
Well, we're all professionals here, so we can just continue
on. It would also be good for our guests when they come on as well. They come in the bathroom, we're like, I can still hear the show. We made it that way.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so going across the continent, going from shore to shore, you want to go down into Australia. I'm going to go to Britain.
Hey, well, that's on the complete opposite side of the planet.
But hey, still, it's not the United States.
That's across the smaller pond, the Atlantic.
The Britons announce a plan to ban antique ivory trade.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yep.
I'm like, this isn't banned already? Like, elephant tusks. Speaking of elephant tusks, those who don't know the ivory trade, it's a bad thing. People slaughter, kill these elephants and take these giant tusks off of them. I'm not in Africa, and I don't see these giant elephants getting taken down, but I can only imagine. That it's not a good thing. I know that they have banned such things, but it still keeps people from doing those things. So even though it's banned, it's still out there. But this says antique ivory trade. So this would have fallen under the laws of it being okay and just back then. So maybe that's why they're still getting away with doing their trade and selling that sort of stuff. But it's great to know that Britain is on the forefront of trying to get rid of this ivory trade, which is ridiculous. Like, you kill this animal, it's a bad thing. And then you kill it. Not only do you kill it, you just leave it. And you take its tusks, and then you're out of there, you know?
I'm pretty sure we can make piano keys out of something other than ivory.
Right. Right. Plastic. Plastic!
Hey! Recycled plastic.
Recycled plastic.
Yep. I am empty, so can we take a break and go on to the last drink that we have from Pint 9 Brewing Company is actually the Pint 9 IPA. Hey, and we're ending on a high note on this one. This is a 7% ABV, and it is the highest IBU count.
I like it.
So the Harvest was a 35, the Orange Blossom was a 22, and this one is a 65 IBU, so a little higher on the international bitterness units. And what they say is it's dry, it's fruity, it's hoppy, with some piney, citrusy hops. And they say that it's the stone fruits is what the fruity notes are. And the stone fruits, if you to put that in perspective, or to let you know what that means, is the stone fruits, or drupe, is what the DRUPE are, fruits with a large stone inside, or the pit inside.
Sure.
So now the seed is inside the stone.
Sorry for my sniffly nose, by the way, people.
That's all right. That's all right. So if you think about like mangoes and peaches and nectarines, they have that large pit on the inside.
I like how you said that. Say that one more time.
Nectarines?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a good
How
word.
do you pronounce it?
No, it's great. I just, it's one of those words you don't hear very often, so it's just nice to hear. You're like, nectarine. Yeah. It just sounds refreshing.
Nectarine. Well, it's my smooth, silky voice.
It's the nectarine.
Yes.
It's not like banana. Nectarine.
Nectarine. All right. So with that being said, cheers on that.
Cheers, for sure.
Oh, man.
Oh, before I even took a drink, I could smell it. I was like,
very, very hoppy smell.
Oh, that, what does this remind me of?
Citrusy.
Yeah, it's got to be the citra hops that are in there.
Assertive on there.
Which a lot of people have been cooking with the citra hops lately, which is great. Well, I cook in some. I guess, cooking a batch of beer would be the same thing.
Citra hops are kind of like the main, like everybody uses citra hops. Or Cascade. Cascade is probably the number one.
It reminds me of a beer, and I can't. It's not coming to my.
Smells good. Tastes good. Ought to be in Hollywood.
This one actually reminds me a lot of Toppling Goliath's Pseudo Sue. I corrected myself there.
Nice catch.
Pseudo Sue.
Yes,
this reminds me of the Pseudo Sue.
Pseudo Sue, I think, is smoother.
I agree. But it's got the same.
I agree.
Got the same kind of flavor.
Well done on matching the flavor profile on that.
Well, it's like a fine wine. You marry it with the dirt, and
which we have not done other than
Dad.
Other than not sriracha. Why did I say sriracha?
Sangria.
Yes. Other than the sangria, we have not really done wine on this.
Yeah, no. We will, ladies and gentlemen of the Facebook world, please reach out to us, and we will get a wine sponsored on here.
That was quite the DJ voice thing.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. You were like, Britt, never do that. Never do that.
Get on the dance floor.
Yeah, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get the word out.
No, this is
word out.
If you are a fan of like deep, flavorful, rich, like complex flavors, this is a complex flavored.
Right up there with Pseudo Sue, which is. Did you see the article about all 50 states and the beers?
I should have.
You should have. And I should have reposted it, is what I should have. I was on Facebook scrolling the other day, and I was sliding through, and it's like, every beer for every state. 50 beers, 50 states. 51.
Challenge
but,
accepted.
Yeah, so I scrolled through, and I checked it out.
So they pick like
The
the
Nebraska
best beer from each state?
The
Okay.
Nebraska one was Empyrean, was the one.
It's a really good mainstay.
They've been here for way longer than most breweries have.
Yeah.
Iowa, it was Toppling Goliath.
Nice.
California was the Sierra Nevada.
Well, they use so I have a friend of mine that actually
But it was a really cool article. I really enjoyed each. I was like, I got to see all 50 states,
Yeah. I'm going to let you in on a little bit of a secret here.
Technically 51 states.
Well, it's 50, but yeah, Puerto Rico did say that they wanted to be a state, and they are tied to the United States, but they are not officially a state. They're tied. Yeah, they're
Okay, we're going deep.
Yeah. Anyway, so I had a friend of mine that actually went through his beer judge
Certification?
thank you, beer judge certification, and he invited me over, and he's like, "Hey, you want to come over into my house and drink some beers?" I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, really? Yeah, absolutely.
A good day is a free beer day.
Yeah. But I walk in.
Just like today.
Yeah.
Today was a free beer day for me.
Yeah.
Thanks, bro.
Absolutely. But I walk into his house, and he's going through the beer judge certification process, and he hands me a packet, and I'm like, I don't know how many of you have been invited over to a friend's house to drink
And
some
gotten
beer.
a packet.
Got a packet. And he's like, well, okay. He's like, there's some paperwork that we have to do to get through this.
Make it legit.
But we're going to drink some beers while we're doing it. And then we can just, after we get through this, then we can have some fun.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, done.
Yeah. There might be a point where in our show we have to have somebody sign a clause.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying that they have to, but I'm saying that there might be some time in our show that we like, you can't cuss, you can't bring up this, you can't bring up that.
Our lawyers will contact you.
Exactly. It might become a time that, and he was just doing things legitly.
Well,
is that a word? Legitimately.
Legitimately.
There you go. There we go.
So anyway, he gave me the same packet that he went through in his certification, and there's like beers that you go through, you listen, or you drink the beer, and like when you drink a beer, think about what you think about when you drink beer.
Right. Remember the episode when you had the Gatorade and the.
Yeah.
It took me right back to where I was at. Like I have had this before.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, this is back when you came back from the military.
Yeah.
I was like, boom, just put me in my place.
But I would say the general public, when they drink a beer, they don't think about like mouthfeel. They don't think about the aroma. They don't think.
Well, Brian, the general
I
public,
do.
9 times out of 10 is grabbing that Miller Lite, Bud Light, Busch.
I think that era. There's
the only
always
time you see me drinking that is if we're doing drinking games, because I don't want to be drinking this kind of alcohol during a drinking game, because I'm like, I'm out. Halfway through, I'm out.
Miller Lite's how I hydrate. Okay,
Exactly.
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 Yep. So anyway, so we go through. So we're drinking.
The lowest percentage one that we've had on the show so far, I believe, was the Corona.
You might be right.
I believe it was the Corona was the lowest.
Yep.
Like and that was the Dirty Sanchez.
Yeah. Oh. Anyway, the point of the story that I was trying to make here. So in the beer judge certification circuit, they actually use a lot of Sierra Nevada in that, because the
Interesting.
quality control at Sierra Nevada
Glad I brought them up.
is huge. So like you can go to California where they brew it, or you can go to New England or Florida or even freaking Canada, and get a Sierra Nevada, and it's going to taste exactly the same because their quality control is so huge, which says a lot about the company, that they are very much into making sure their beer tastes the same no matter where you get it, which is kind of like you hear that like a Budweiser or a Bud Light or a Miller Lite is a Miller Lite is a Miller Lite wherever you go.
I'm glad you brought up Canada, which refers back to what we were talking about earlier, the barber that lied on the ground for the boy who had autism. It was in Quebec, Canada.
Oh, Quebec, Canada.
Quebec, Canada.
Yeah. Which
So I forgot to mention that it was from Quebec.
Our bilingual neighbors to the north,
the French neighbors north.
Yeah, absolutely. But they also make my favorite motorcycle, the Can-Am Spider.
Oh,
So-
I did not know that's where that came from.
Well, Bombardier, BRP.
Bomb.
Yeah, Bombardier. The Bombardier Recreational Products, BRP, is actually based out of Canada, and that's who makes Can-Am, and that's who makes the Spider.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
Yeah. Which actually, technically, if you look at the footprint, should be more Scorpion. But whatever.
Who's counting?
Yeah. I understand why they named it that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I had for the uplifting news on my end. I know you had a couple more than I did, or do you have a couple more?
Well, I've actually kind of run the gamut on that. But I would like to suggest to some people that if you're tired of always seeing bad news, check out What Matters.
Or just look up uplifting news. I mean, you can spend a lot of time looking at different news articles. Now, what I found when I typed
I may have said that wrong. Love What Matters.
There we go. Love What Matters. All right.
Love What Matters. That go onto Facebook, type in Love What Matters in your search bar. Check that out. And there's every single day they upload a new video of somebody who's taken in a dog that's been
This is a YouTube channel? I'm just...
No, Facebook.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, Facebook channel. It gives a positive, uplifting story every day. And a world full of tyranny. You know, with that said...
Are we going to go political here?
No, it just clicked in my brain. Our news for Omaha is actually a pretty good news station.
Mm-hmm.
They give you the bad, they give you the ugly, but I would say it's more a majority of the positive. You know, every 3, 6, 7, they're really at Channel 42. All 4 news stations are really trying to give you a good news story. In Omaha, we don't have that many bad stories. We're a good town. We're not like Chicago. I can't like Chicago could just read the death toll, and that'd be the end of their news. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We have all heard this. People are really up in arms about what happened in Vegas, and that happens on a monthly basis in Chicago. Sorry to make the positive news as sad news. But, I mean...
We're trying to end on a high note here, but...
We're not ending anytime soon, I don't think. I'm just saying, I think that...
We're at an hour and a half.
Hour and a half? Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Our news station here in Omaha does a really good job of trying to find that good news story.
They do. They try and find local news stories rather than just...
They don't put spins on things, which is good.
I wouldn't say that. There is a spin on it, but it's a local spin. So,
what station you listen to?
All of them. I don't.
What do you gravitate towards? It's okay. You can say it. 7, 3, 6.
KFAB.
KFAB, the hardcore, the underground.
So,
okay, all right, fair enough.
That is my main. And the reason for that is just because that medium, talk radio, for me is I spend a lot of time in vehicles, and that's just...
Well, Brian, due to your job, which is sad news.
Yeah. We're not going to go there.
No.
But because of what I do, I spend a lot of time in vehicles. So the medium for me for news is KFAB.
You spend a lot of time with family.
I do. Well, yes, but...
in vehicles. But yes, you do travel a lot.
Yeah, there is some wood chill time, which is why I like audiobooks, because I spend a lot of time in vehicles.
And that's why we have created this show.
Podcast,
because of Brian.
It's podcast. Yes, audiobooks and podcasts kind of go hand in hand.
They do.
Anyway, and I wanted you to express your thought, and I totally lost my train of thought, so I'm going to get back to
You're reading, you're listening to podcasts while you're at work.
No, like I had something like 5 minutes ago because I wanted to talk about. I totally lost my train of thought on that, but that's all right.
So here's what I want to hear about, Brian. So I want one positive thing that happened to you, not this, that happened to you this week. I want a positive of you this week, and I'll give you a second to think about it, because I'll just give my positive.
That's off the cuff.
All right. So my positive this week is I may have gotten somebody fired.
wait a minute. How is that positive?
Because everybody hated him.
Well, I know, but you just cost somebody their job.
Not if he was not supposed to be in that position.
Oh, true. Okay. All right.
He
Fair
was
enough.
he was not supposed to be in that position, nor did he have any information to be in that position, nor did when I went up to him and I said, "Hey, the ladies at the front counter need connection to said internet," and he goes, "Well, nobody's told me about this." I go, "I'm telling you about it." like he's like, "Well, I have this meeting," and I'm like, "This is more important than the meeting. You go help the ladies." And then I go by a second time by these ladies, and I'm like, they're like shaking their heads, like, "No, he's not. He hasn't been here yet." Now I got to involve big bosses, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're not doing your job, I got to involve big bosses. And said to demise, but kind of when he left, everyone cheered. So it was kind of a win. It was kind of a positive, like, we've been really looking to get rid of this man for a long time, and you really posed a thing that made it happen. So
You know what that reminds
yay.
me of is, and I'm going to bring the pop culture reference.
Some
into this.
people just aren't good people,
Right.
you know?
Well, so do you remember?
He wasn't taking care of puppies. Let's just say that, you know? He was taking care of the entirety of the business that we were running. So he, you know, if he couldn't hold that on his shoulders, get out of there, man.
Mm-hmm.
Time to go.
I want to bring up what it reminds me of is pop culture reference. Ace Ventura 2, when he was at the monastery.
I love my chitty chitty bacon.
Well, this is like, so he's like leaving the monastery, and he's like, "Wow, I have so much work left to be done here." And he's like, "Here, you have attained it. You get this medal." And he's like, "It took you 80 years to achieve this medal." He's like, "It's okay.
It's okay.
I don't like it anymore."
Yeah, I don't need it anymore. I don't like it.
And so he's like, "All right, fine, I'll leave." And he leaves, and like all the monks are like breakdancing in the background, like, "Woo!" And he-
Same concept.
Yeah, and he's
That'd
like,
be the same concept.
denial is an ugly thing.
That's good.
Anyway, that's what that.
You know, I
reminded me
feel
of.
bad for him, you know, but he put himself in this position way before I even started there. And I'm not talking about the company that I work for. This is a subsidiary of a company that I work for that I'm in a hotel for.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's not a person of my company. He dug his own grave. So, you know,
to that
he dug his own grave.
to that specifically, there is something that I actually heard yesterday that really struck a chord with me, and it is,
You got your positive thing?
I do have my positive thing, but this is not about that.
Perfect.
That's about what you said.
Now you got two things.
So,
love
to what you said, there is something that somebody, I wish I could remember where I read it, but it was amazing, and it was, people create storms in their life, and then they are mad when it rains.
Ooh.
I was like,
that's tight.
I know,
I like
right?
that.
Yeah.
I just said that's tight. That's cool.
That dates you, really.
But you know what I mean? That's
a really cool.
that's a positive message right there in
Yeah.
itself.
Yep. That's a really cool thing to think about.
I like
They create storms in their life, and then they're mad when it rains.
Oh.
That's real. I mean, if you think about it, that's really cool. So the positive thing in my life,
Perfect.
I actually had a really cool conversation, and I told Britt when I wanted to do this podcast that I wanted to keep two things out of this podcast. I wanted to keep politics out of it. I wanted to keep religion out of it. But if you've spent any time listening to this podcast, you know that I am a religious person, and
So am I, but you're a little
Yeah.
bit more than me.
Yeah.
Let's just say that.
So I actually had coffee with my pastor the other day, and it turned into one of those discussions that was just like your brain hurts at the end of it because it just goes so deep.
Yeah.
And like we talked about religion, not just here in the United States, but just religion as a whole, where it's going and what it means and how to define God and how do you put God in a box, because that's kind of what religion is trying to do. Where's it headed and all that stuff. So
It's the pop culture that we've got going on right now. They're like, show me the money. I mean, they're really saying, show me the money. It's like, well, that's not what it's about. You know, it's religion is not about show me the money. Look at what happened way in the past. You know, this could happen in the future. Like, I guess I don't know where I'm going with this, but everybody's like, give it to me now. I want
instant gratification.
Boom, there you go. That's the word I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Instant gratification. You're not going to find that with God, instant gratification.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe when you die and go to heaven, you'll find gratification instantly. But as a platform here on Earth, you're not going to find instant gratification,
right? Well,
because you don't know. You don't know.
You don't. And the positive that came out of that whole conversation was, I didn't want to really get into religion because it's a polarizing topic, and I didn't want to be polarizing on our podcast. But the way we talked about religion wasn't about any specific religion. It was just religion as a whole,
in general,
globally.
Yeah.
And it was really interesting.
We did bring up the Episcopal Church in Denver.
You did,
so
you
yeah,
did, yeah. But so this was even more broad than that. So that was one positive, that I was able to have this conversation with a gentleman that I respect a lot, and he is a pastor. And so we had coffee and we talked about religion. Nobody came away angry, and not that I'm anti-religion. I am, I'm in one
for it. Yeah.
So that's how I view
period.
The world. Yeah. So I don't want to get into all that, but it was just a very enlightening conversation, and the way he viewed religion and God as a whole just really solidified in me just a hope for humanity later, because religion that we know of needs to evolve, and it's just a really I don't want to get into it, because that's, to me, like it's a really good talk that we had, and it would be interesting to if we actually had.
I would love to have him on the show.
Yeah. I'm totally for it, having him on the show.
I know he drinks beer, so.
Well, the problem is I want him to remain as anonymous as possible, just because I understand the implications of it bringing him on.
We'll
here.
blur his face.
Or have him in your position, like right here.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah.
So
we're staring at the back of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
But then he'd have to serve the drinks. So that's the bartender skill.
Yep. So, well, you could be there. He could be there. So.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah. Even more.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but yeah, that was one of my positives. I just loved. I was getting out of the office. I was having a very deep conversation that was not just self-centered. It was more about the global thing.
Yeah. What's about you? It was about everyone else.
About everything else. It was so cool. That was my positive for the week.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Makes me want to think I have probably a better positive somewhere. Jeez. I got somebody fired.
I didn't mean to show you up.
No. That was really good. That was actually really good. The positive for my week was ending my week on a high note. I have been
dinner at the folks.
Well, that's Sunday. That would be the new week.
How many people do that? No. Though nowadays,
right? I think that's amazing that we were able to get together. It's starting to get more of every other week than every week, which is okay. At least life happens. At least it's 2 times a month. But last week was what we're talking about. It was last week. I ended my week on a high note. I put in 46 hours plus, like normally I try to just hit 40 and be good with it, but 6 hours over, which is, it's fine. I get out when I can, but I'm there, whining and grinding. And some weeks are worse than others. Some are 63 hours, not, 40.
40 hours a week? I remember my first part-time job.
Hush. But I ended my week with watching the Huskers. It took a solid 15 minutes for me to actually pull a Husker game up, because my Cox cable wasn't providing it.
You don't have Cox.
I do.
I thought you had DirecTV.
I do. I have both.
What?
It was a plan that I got into really early. I got the cable, and for an extra $20, I got a cable box.
Anyway,
and so anyway, I went on to BTN and Big Ten Network, and I was all like, "Hey, I just want the game. That's really what I'm looking for. And I put in, I have DirecTV, and it's all like, your service is not providing this at all. And I'm like, so I backed out of it a little bit, and then I went back into it, and it's all like, what's your service provider? I'm like, Cox Cable. And it's like, boom, here's the game. I'm like, yes! Bounce to TV.
Yeah, nice.
And we stayed for the first quarter. And then we went outside and didn't watch the rest of the game. We started a fire pit, and
I saw some of those videos where you did the slow motion video of the fire pit, and I would suggest anyone that has a fire pit at home do a slow motion video of the fire pit.
My favorite was the wood we were using.
Was it cedar? Because those pop.
Yeah. They were cedar.
Okay,
it was cedar. So every once in a while it would pop, but it wouldn't pop out. It would pop up.
Yeah.
And the slow motion video was actually pretty kick ass. I can say that. Ass. I can say that. Mm-hmm. It's not a dirty word.
Yeah. We're rambling. I mean, we need to end it.
You were saying an hour and a half. We're an hour and a half right now.
Boom. That's just, we made it. Excellent. We need to shut it down.
Whatever. It's fun. We good stories, all positive notes.
Right. Yeah.
There was a little negative note every once in a while, but it led to a positive story.
Right. And here's what I want to say on that note. So the people that are like,
here's what I want to say on that note. Get on to Love What Matters on Facebook, and you'll see the positive stories that are out there. You don't have to be looking at bad stuff all the time. You don't even need to watch your local channels. You don't have to. Mm-hmm. Put positivity in your life, and what you'll get out of your life is positivity.
Right. As you think, so shall you be, kind of thing. So I have gotten out of just watching mainstream media, like getting either the newspaper or watching news. If you get your news from the internet, you have to be careful because you want to make sure it's not fake news. Another topic on Drink Talk, just FYI, if you go a couple episodes back.
Which I think we need a part 3. Just bring Rich back.
yes, we do.
I tried to coax him to get here on this episode. I'm like, we're just talking about cool stuff. And he's like,
uplifting
news.
He's
like, it's 4 a.m, Britt. I'm like, yeah, I know.
Stop talking to me.
No,
text.
We're setting up speakers for Susan Jacobin.
So, anyway, what I would suggest to you, I am a big proponent of getting all the information I can when it comes to media and news and all that. The problem is so much of it is so negative. Seek out those terminals where you can find positive news.
Here's what it is. You have negativity in your life. You have a way of changing it. You could make it positive.
It's a choice.
You can make a negative thing a positive thing in your life. You have that choice.
You find a lot of negative news articles out there. Pause.
Turn them off.
Do another search. Find some uplifting articles.
Yeah.
Look at puppies. Whatever.
It's sad to go onto my Apple TV right now and actually pull up YouTube because it's just full of sad stories because frankly that's just what's been happening, and
a lot of that has to do with the searches that you do.
It just with that said, I don't have to go on there.
You don't.
The best thing in my life is when I switch back over to DirecTV and actually watch the Goldbergs and watch Modern Family. It's stuff to take me away from the bad chaos that's happening actually in the world. I don't want to see. Just put me in a show and make me laugh with those people that are in that show.
Oh, when it comes to Netflix, I've actually started looking more at stand-up comedy.
Oh, yeah.
So fun.
Well, and with that said, I gave you that comedian that was actually
so awesome.
He was on point. Here's what it was. He didn't
curse. No cursing.
No cursing. It was no dick jokes. There was, none of that.
The dude was from Idaho, and he was in New York City.
Super nice dude.
And he didn't curse once. Like, that's rare.
That's a comedian I want to watch.
Oh, yeah, that was awesome.
Not that,
he wasn't degrading anybody. He was.
I laugh at the DICK jokes every once in a while.
You already said it.
I already said it. That's fine. I don't care. It's not offensive to anybody because that's what it's called. But
Richard,
the wanker. Just saying, it's not I'll listen to those jokes and I'll probably laugh every once in a while with those jokes. But I would like to hear a clean comedian actually come out with clean jokes that are funny.
Right, that's not making fun of a person or a type of person.
Just his life and just general,
observational humor that's funny.
That's, I went through that too, like that's funny, you know? For sure.
Anyway, so we're going to end this talk. We have been talking on uplifting news. I hope that you all found some uplifting news in this. We have been drinking on Pint 9
and I get the last little bit because I finished. You got one, I got two.
So it was Pint 9 was, I would suggest anybody that's in the greater Omaha area,
especially the IPA,
go check them out.
Decent.
Yes, check
awesome.
It's a good, and like I said, if you go there, you're almost guaranteed to get somebody that's directly involved there, because there's 2 brewers and a wife, and those are the 3 employees that they have. So you're going to meet somebody that knows what's going on. So we've been talking on Uplifting Nose. My name is Brian.
I'm Britt.
And have a great night.
Make news positive.
An uplifting night, as it will.
Exactly. And Facebook world.
Oh, are we still on there?
We'll see you later.
Bye-bye.